The day I signed away my kidney, my parents treated it like I was finally doing something useful with my life. "You're saving your brother," Mom said, smoothing my hair like I was a child again. "Think of all the things he'll be able to do after this." Dad clapped my shoulder so hard it jolted my IV line. "This is what family is about, Mia. Sacrifice. You should be proud." Proud. That word tasted strange in my mouth as I lay in the pre-op bed, staring at the ceiling tiles, listening to the hum of fluorescent lights and the soft beeps of machines. Proud felt a lot like scared, a lot like cornered. My brother Ethan sat on his own bed across the curtain, scrolling his phone like we were waiting for a movie to start, not for someone to cut into both of us. "You're nervous, huh?" he said, not looking up. "A little," I admitted. My voice sounded small, even to me. "You'll be fine," he replied, thumbs still moving. "You have healthy organs, you don't even use them for anything exciting." He laughed at his own joke. Mom laughed too. I didn't. Here's the thing. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, the quiet fixer, the steady backup, you know that eventually your role stops being something you do and becomes something they feel entitled to. Like air, like light, like your body. When the surgeon came in for the final rundown, he spoke to Ethan first. "Mr. Hayes, we'll get you into the OR shortly. You'll feel tired afterward, but the new kidney should start working fairly quickly." Ethan nodded like he was approving a business deal. Then the surgeon turned to me, voice softer, eyes careful. "And Mia, I want to go over the risks again. Donating a kidney is generally safe, but it is major surgery. There's pain, potential complications, long-term changes in energy level." "She knows," Mom cut in. "We've discussed it as a family." Funny, we had never discussed it. They had told me, "We need you, you're the only match. If you don't do this, your brother could die. You don't want that on your conscience, do you?" I signed the forms with their voices in my ear and my own silence screaming inside my chest. The surgeon placed a hand on the rail of my bed. "You can still change your mind." 3 pairs of eyes snapped to me, Mom's wet and pleading, Dad's narrowed in warning, Ethan's irritated like I was delaying his schedule. I held the surgeon's gaze for a beat too long. Could I? Really? Could I choose myself for once, without them turning me into a villain? I swallowed. "It's okay, I'll do it." Mom exhaled like I'd just saved the world. "You're an angel," she whispered. "Our angel." But lying there in that cold hospital, wearing a thin gown and a paper bracelet with my name on it, I didn't feel like an angel. I felt like inventory. Keep watching. Because the real story didn't end with the surgery. It started the night I heard what they really thought of me. If you'd met us when we were kids, you would have sworn Ethan was the main character, and I was there to fill the frame. He was the miracle baby, the firstborn, the one who survived a complicated pregnancy and an emergency C-section. Mom never let anyone forget it. "Ethan's special," she'd say when he threw tantrums that shattered dishes. "He's sensitive." When I cried, she'd roll her eyes. "Mia, stop being dramatic. You're fine." At school, Ethan was loud, charming, and always in the middle of something: team captain, class clown, natural leader, according to every teacher who wrote glowing comments on his report cards. I was the kid who got straight A's and was told to let your brother shine. In photos, he was always in the center. I was always the one angled slightly behind, hands folded, taking up as little space as possible. Things got worse when Ethan's kidneys started failing. He was 25. I was 23. It began with fatigue, swelling, unexplained nausea. Suddenly, the golden child was fragile, the world tilting around his lab results and dialysis schedule. My parents became satellites orbiting planet Ethan. "Our poor boy," Mom would say, spoon-feeding him soup like he was 6 instead of grown. "He doesn't deserve this." I'd come in from a double shift and see him playing video games, plugged into a dialysis machine, barking orders at them like a king with 2 exhausted servants. "Water," he'd call, turn up the TV, answer my phone, and they did every single time. I did too at first, because yes, he was sick, and family helps family, and guilt is a powerful leash. But over time, something ugly settled in the corners of the house. A pattern. Every time Ethan lashed out in fear and frustration, they shielded him and redirected it to me. "You know he's scared," Mom would say after he called me useless for cooking the wrong kind of pasta. "He's going through a lot," Dad would mutter when he snapped at me for breathing too loud. No one ever noticed I was going through anything too. I worked 2 jobs to keep my own insurance so I wouldn't become another financial burden. I took him to appointments, handled phone calls, researched transplant options. I fell asleep more times than I'd like to admit on the bus home, forehead pressed to the window, the city a blur of light and noise. Then the tests came back. Match. Perfect match. The doctor said it gently. Your sister is compatible, Ethan. It's extremely fortunate. My parents cried with relief. Ethan shrugged. Well, yeah, that's what she's for, right? They laughed. They thought he was joking. I stared at him, waiting for him to say he didn't mean it. He never did. That night, Mom came into my room and sat on the edge of my bed. You know we'd never force you, she said. Translation, you know you don't actually have a choice. You're the strong one, she added. You'll bounce back from this. Ethan, she didn't have to finish. Ethan is the fragile miracle. Mia is the backup generator. I heard myself say, of course, I'll do it. And just like that, my body officially became part of the family business. They'd always treated me like a support system. Now I was about to become their spare parts. The morning of the surgery, the hospital room filled with people, but I'd never felt more alone. Nurses came and went, double-checking wristbands, asking my name and date of birth, confirming the procedure. Left nephrectomy donor? Left kidney taken out. Simple words, irreversible reality. Mom hovered over Ethan's bed, adjusting his blanket like he was a prince about to attend a coronation. You're so brave, sweetheart, she told him. This is the start of your new life. She didn't say it to me. Dad paced between us, phone in hand, texting relatives updates. Mia's in good spirits, he typed, without looking up to see if I actually was. Our boy is holding up strong. Our girl was conveniently background noise. A nurse with kind eyes came to my bedside and lowered her voice. Are you sure you're okay? She asked. We always want donors to feel fully comfortable. No one's pressuring you, right? She added, glancing at my parents. Mom bristled. Excuse me, I jumped in fast. It's fine. I want to help, want, need, trapped. The line blurred so much I couldn't tell which word was true anymore. Ethan finally looked over at me as if remembering I existed. Hey, he said. Thanks for doing this, I guess. I stared. You guess? He shrugged. Well, yeah, I mean, what else were you gonna do? At least now you'll have a story. A story? He said it like I was getting clout from losing an organ. Mom noticed my face and rushed to fill the silence. He's just nervous, she said. He's so grateful, really, aren't you, honey? Ethan rolled his eyes. Sure, grateful, whatever. The anesthesiologist arrived with a soft smile and a clipboard. We're ready, she said. We'll take Mia back first, then Ethan. Mom squeezed my hand hard enough to hurt. Remember, this is for family. You're doing the right thing. I nodded because that's what they needed. Inside, something in me whispered, who will do the right thing for you? As they wheeled me away, I heard Dad lean toward Ethan. See, your sister always comes through in the end. Always. In their script, there was never a version where I didn't. The ore was cold, bright, and efficient. Machines hummed, metal gleamed, voices blurred as the team moved with choreographed precision. The anesthesiologist placed a mask over my face. Deep breaths, she said. Think of somewhere peaceful. I tried. But instead of beaches or forests, I saw a blank space where my future margin of safety used to be, carved out and handed away because my family decided my body was theirs to allocate. As the world faded, one thought cut through the fog. If I survive this, things have to change. Spoiler, they did, but not in the way my family believed they would. Waking up from surgery felt like returning to a body that didn't quite fit. My side burned. My throat ached from the breathing tube. Every breath felt heavier, like lifting a weight that used to be light. The surgery went well, the nurse said. Your kidney started working in your brother almost immediately. Almost immediately. My body performing on command, even outside of me, I forced a smile. Good. Because that's what I was supposed to say, right? Good, happy to help. Worth it, hours blurred. Pain meds came and went in waves. Nurses checked vitals. Machines beeped their endless digital lullaby. At some point, I drifted in and out while the room shifted from harsh daylight to dim evening. That's when I heard them. The door must not have fully latched because voices floated in from the hallway, clear as if they were standing beside my bed. Mom's voice first, soft and shaky. I still can't believe she did it, she said. Our girl is stronger than she looks. Dad sighed. She did what needed to be done. Ethan has his whole life ahead of him. This is how it's supposed to be. I tried to call out, but my throat felt like sand. My lips moved, but no sound came. Footsteps. Ethan's voice joined them, a little slurred but unmistakably smug. "Well, yeah," he said. "I mean, come on, that's what Mia's always been. Back up." They laughed. My heart stuttered. Mom shushed him, but she was smiling. I could hear it in her tone. "Don't say it like that," she chided. "She loves you." "I'm just saying what everyone knows," he replied, voice dropping lower, like he thought that made it kinder. "I'm the one who's supposed to carry the name, the business, the family. Mia's always been more optional." Optional. The word landed like a punch. He continued, casual, like he was discussing weather. "She was always the spare mom. Spare bedroom, spare attention, spare organ. At least now it's official." They laughed again. A jagged silence filled my chest, louder than any monitor beep. I'd given him something I could never get back. He'd reduced me to an interchangeable part. "She'll bounce back," Dad said, waving a hand. "That girl's made of rubber, and now your numbers will be good. We can finally get you on track." This was the right thing. For everyone. For Ethan, Mom corrected gently. Dad didn't argue. Ethan chuckled. "You know what the doctor said, I might need more procedures later down the line. Good thing Mia's around. She was practically built for this." They moved away down the hall, their voices fading. I lay there in the dim room, the monitors steady and indifferent, the pain in my side throbbing in time with the words echoing in my head. Spare. Backup. Built for this. It wasn't the surgery that broke something in me. It was that conversation. Because now, I finally heard the truth I'd been trying not to see my whole life. They didn't see my donation as a gift. They saw it as my duty. An obligation. A role I'd been assigned before I was old enough to understand what it meant. As the pain meds pulled me back under, one thought sharpened in the haze. They think I'm spare? Fine. Then they'll learn what happens when the spare walks away. Completely. If you've never tried to stand up with one kidney less than you started with, let me explain. It feels like gravity doubled overnight. Every step out of that hospital bed was a negotiation with my own body. Sit up. Breathe. Don't throw up. Swing legs over, one hand on the rail. Push. Pain flared in my side, sharp and hot, my vision blurred for a second. The nurse was there instantly, steadying me. "Slow," she said. "You're not in a race." I almost laughed. My family would disagree. By the time they wheeled me to my room on the recovery floor, Ethan had already been there an hour. His room looked like a party. Balloons, flowers, a giant second chance banner over his bed. Half our extended family crowded inside, taking selfies, hugging him like he'd personally survived a war. When my bed rolled past his open door, I saw it all in one painful snapshot. Mom sitting on Ethan's bed, feeding him grapes. Dad taking a group photo. Someone popping a confetti cannon. No one looked into the hallway. No one saw me. My room was quiet when I got there. No balloons, no flowers. Just a plastic pitcher of water, a tray with untouched gelatin, and a window with a view of the parking lot. 10 minutes later, Mom poked her head in. "Oh good, you're awake," she said. "How do you feel?" "Like I was hit by a truck," I said honestly. She laughed like I'd made a joke. "You'll bounce back," she said. "You always do. Ethan's talking about all the things he wants to do now. Travel, maybe finally start that business with your dad." She drifted off into plans. None of them included me. I swallowed. "Did anyone ask about me?" She blinked, like the thought hadn't occurred. "Of course they did," she said quickly. "You know how you are, you don't like a lot of fuss. We're letting you rest." Rest. I remembered the hallway, the banner, the cheers. Right, she kissed my forehead. "Try to get some sleep, we'll be back." They weren't. Not that day. Not really. Over the next week, the pattern set in. Ethan had a constant stream of visitors. Relatives. Friends. His old coach. People from Dad's job bringing gift baskets and cards addressed to our hero. Sometimes, Mom would pop into my room on her way back from Ethan's, smelling like perfume and cafeteria coffee. "You would not believe how brave he's being," she'd say. "He keeps thanking everyone. He's talking about giving motivational speeches one day." "Did he thank me?" I asked once before I could stop myself. She frowned like I'd ruined the mood. "Don't make this about you, Mia. He's the one who almost died." I looked down at my scar, the stitches still tight and angry. "I know," I said. "I was there." Inside, something cold and sharp started growing. They'd finally said it out loud in the hallway after surgery. Spare. Backup. Built for this. Now they were acting like donating an organ was the bare minimum. The doctors told me to take at least 6 weeks off work. Mom heard that and immediately started planning around it. "You can stay with us," she said. "You'll help us keep an eye on Ethan, make sure he takes his meds. We'll need you to drive him for follow-ups when Dad's busy. We'll need you, not, how will you pay your bills? Not, do you have enough sick leave? Not, what do you need, Mia?" Just more ways my body and time could keep orbiting his. I went along with it for the first week. I was too sore to argue, too drugged to think clearly. I let them tuck me into the guest room, the same one where they'd stored leftover furniture and boxes with Ethan's trophies. My name wasn't on anything in that house. Except, I would soon find out, one file. The one that showed exactly how little my family thought of my future. It happened by accident. The best betrayals always do. I was 3 weeks post-op, moving around slowly, gradually relying less on painkillers. My energy came in little bursts, like someone testing a faulty light switch. That afternoon, Mom asked me to drop off some insurance forms at Dr. Patel's office upstairs from Ethan's clinic. "You know this stuff better than I do," she said, handing me a folder. "All those online portals confuse me." I knew what that really meant. You're the responsible one. Do the boring work. I didn't argue. Going out of the house alone felt like a small victory. I took the elevator up, handed the folder to the receptionist, and waited while she scanned everything. Then her brow furrowed. She said. "There's a duplicate record here. Is this supposed to be in your brother's file or yours?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" She flipped her screen toward me, careful to block anything sensitive. "This line," she said, tapping the monitor. "Family donor resource flagged, M. Hayes. It's attached to the transplant coordination notes." The world went quiet for a second. "Family what?" I asked. She realized she'd said too much and quickly turned the screen back. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shouldn't have, Dr. Patel can explain. Do you want to wait?" My heart hammered in my ears. Family donor resource, like I was equipment. "Yes," I said, "I'll wait." 15 minutes later, Dr. Patel came out, smoothing his tie. "Mia," he said, "good to see you up and about. How are you feeling?" "Confused," I said. "Your front desk said something about my name being flagged as a family donor resource in Ethan's chart. What does that mean?" He froze. Just for a second. Then his expression shifted into that careful, neutral doctor look. "That is not quite the term we would use," he said. "Sometimes, for transplant planning, we note potential living donors in the family. It's a logistical tag, nothing more." "A tag," I repeated, "that I never agreed to." He folded his arms, choosing his words. "Your parents were proactive," he said. "Before the transplant, they asked us to evaluate both you and Ethan for possible future needs. In some conditions, additional procedures can be required over a lifetime. They wanted to make sure you'd be monitored." "Monitored for what?" I pressed. He exhaled. "Liver segments, potential bone marrow, other supporting donations if Ethan's condition progressed." The room tilted. "So they didn't just plan for this one surgery," I said slowly. "They penciled in my body for future use." He flinched at my phrasing, but he didn't deny it. "We didn't schedule anything," he said quickly. "Ethically, nothing can proceed without your explicit consent each time. But given your strong match status, your parents seemed to believe you'd be open to helping again if needed." Open, like my ribcage on an operating table. I swallowed, my mouth tasted like metal. "Can you remove that flag from my file?" I asked. He hesitated. "Mia, your brother's condition is complex," he said. "There is always a chance he might." "That's his body," I cut in. "And this one is mine. So I'm asking, can you remove that flag?" His shoulders dropped. "Yes," he said quietly. "We can file an amendment. And if you'd like, I can refer you to a patient advocate to ensure your wishes are documented in full." For the first time since the surgery, I felt like someone in that system saw me as a person, not a piece of inventory. "Yes," I said, "I want that." On the ride down in the elevator, my reflection looked different in the mirrored walls. Same scar, same tired eyes, new resolve. They hadn't just used my willingness. They'd banked on it. They'd built a quiet file assuming my future organs and marrow were available, on tap, because I was the reliable one. The spare. I walked out of the building and sat on a bench outside, the winter air biting through my coat. Then I pulled out my phone and did something I should have done years ago. I searched for medical donor rights attorney and patient autonomy legal protections. If they saw my body as a long-term resource, fine. I was about to become a resource they could never access again. Lawyers don't speak in dramatic movie lines. They speak in clauses and subclauses, in whereas and hereby and binding. But sometimes, those boring words are the sharpest weapons you'll ever hold. I found Rachel through a patient advocacy group. She was direct, calm, and had a way of making complex legal terms sound like step-by-step instructions. We met in her small, paper-stacked office above a pharmacy. "So," she said, sliding a legal pad toward me, "tell me everything." I did. I told her about the years of being the backup, about the pressure to donate, about the conversation I'd overheard in the hallway. Spare, built for this. Good thing she exists. I told her about the file, family donor resource. The future plans for my body I'd never agreed to. She didn't interrupt much, just wrote. By the end, her jaw was tight. "What you're describing is emotional coercion," she said. "Legally, your kidney donation is done. It can't be undone, but everything from this point forward, that's yours." "So what can I do?" I asked. "Really do. Not just argue with them." She ticked items off on her fingers. "First, we file an official notice with every medical provider you have, primary care, specialists, the hospital system, that you do not consent to being evaluated or used as a living donor for any family member in the future. That gets put in your chart." I exhaled slowly. "Okay." "Second, we create a legally binding advanced directive and medical power of attorney specifying who can make decisions for you if you can't. And we make sure it is not your parents." A small, bitter laugh escaped me. "They'll hate that." "Third," she continued, unbothered, "we send a cease and desist style letter to the hospital's transplant coordination unit regarding any tags or notes that imply you are a default donor resource." "What about my family?" I asked. "They're going to lose it when they find out." She met my eyes. "You don't owe your body to anyone," she said. "Not even people you share a last name with, especially not them." The sentence landed in my chest like a key in a lock that had been rusted shut for years. We did the paperwork. It took weeks. Forms, signatures, notarizations. Dr. Patel kept his promise and removed the donor flag. He also connected me with the hospital's ethics committee, who listened, really listened, when I explained how the tag had been placed without my knowledge. "We will be revisiting our labeling protocols," one committee member said. "This is not how it should be done." For the first time, I wasn't the one apologizing. I stayed quiet around my parents during that time, not because I was scared, but because I was waiting. Waiting to be fully protected before I showed them who I was when I wasn't under their control. The opportunity came faster than I expected. 2 months after the transplant, Ethan was supposed to be recovering, rebuilding his life, being careful. He wasn't. He was drinking. He was skipping meds. He was posting videos at parties, red cups in hand, laughing about his miracle body like he was bulletproof. I saw the posts. So did everyone else. When I brought it up once, he scoffed. "Relax," he said. "I've been through worse. One little kidney isn't going to fall out if I have a beer." "You're supposed to avoid alcohol entirely," I said, "for at least a year." "They told you that?" He rolled his eyes. "God, you're such a mom," he muttered. "You did your part. Don't start acting like you own me now." Own him? The irony almost made me dizzy. I went home and sat in front of the mirror, tracing the scar with my fingertip. Then I opened my drawer and took out the copies of everything Rachel and I had filed. They thought I would always be available. A good girl, a backup, a spare. They were about to learn that the spare had its own engine, and I was done driving in their direction. It started with a phone call at 3:17 a.m., the time when no good news ever arrives. My phone vibrated across the nightstand, jarring me out of sleep. I fumbled for it, heart already pounding. "Mom," I answered. Her voice came through jagged, soaked in tears. "Mia, it's Ethan," she sobbed. "They rushed him to the hospital. Something with his levels, they said his kidney, your kidney, it's failing." I sat up slowly. "Is he alive?" I asked. "Yes, but they said they might need more support. They're talking about options." She hiccuped. "Can you come, please? We need you. We need you." There it was again. Old me would have thrown on clothes and run out the door, heart in my throat, mind already trying to fix what he broke. New me got up, turned on the lamp and said, "I'll be there later this morning. I'm not driving half asleep." She didn't like that, but she accepted it. At 9 a.m., I walked into the hospital with a plan, not panic. Ethan was in a monitored room, IVs running, eyes half open. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. Mom and Dad were there, faces hollowed by fear. The nephrologist stood at the foot of the bed, charts in hand. "His labs show acute rejection," she said. "We're throwing everything we can at it, but his previous noncompliance with medication and lifestyle restrictions has complicated things." Noncompliance. A polite word for he did this to himself. Dad turned to the doctor. "What are our options?" She hesitated. "Well, if we cannot stabilize this graft, we would need to consider either dialysis again or, in rare cases, additional support. However," her eyes flicked to me, "given the legal documentation on file, we will not be evaluating Mia as a donor again." Silence. Thick, heavy, Mom's head snapped toward me. "What documentation?" she demanded. I met her gaze calm. "I told the hospital I would not be used as a donor again," I said. "For anyone, ever." Her mouth fell open. "After everything we've done for you," she choked. "After everything your brother sacrificed." "Everything he sacrificed?" I repeated, incredulous. "He got my kidney, my surgery, my pain, my time. He threw it away at parties." Ethan groaned from the bed. "Not now," he rasped. "I feel like death." For once, I didn't care. Dad stepped between us. You can't just walk away from family like this," he said. "You're condemning your brother." I pulled a folded set of papers from my bag. "I'm not condemning anyone," I said, voice steady. "I'm enforcing boundaries you never thought I was allowed to have." I handed the documents to the doctor. "These are copies of my advance directive and the notice your ethics committee filed," I said. "They confirm that any evaluation of me as a donor is unauthorized." The doctor nodded. "We will respect Miss Hayes' wishes," she said. "There are other paths for Ethan, dialysis, the transplant waiting list. But we cannot rely on Mia anymore." Mom's face twisted. "You're being selfish," she hissed. "Your brother is dying and you're thinking about yourself." "I thought about him when I gave him my kidney," I said quietly. "I thought about him when I went through the pain, the recovery, the fear. I thought about him every time I worried about my own health after that." I took a breath. "Now I'm thinking about me. Finally." Ethan stared at me, eyes bloodshot. "You're really not going to help?" he croaked. "After everything I did for you growing up, I always protected you." I almost laughed. "Protected me?" I said. "You mocked me. You took everything our parents handed you and acted like you earned it. And when they decided my body was your backup plan, you didn't say no. You leaned into it." He looked away. Dad shook his head slowly, like I was a stranger. "This isn't you, Mia." "No," I said. "This is me when I'm not under your thumb." The door opened. Rachel stepped in, wearing her badge as a visiting advocate. I'd called her on the way there. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Perfect timing," I said. Mom rounded on me. "You brought a lawyer," she spat. "To your brother's bedside." "I brought a witness," I corrected. "To make sure no one tries to bully me into another surgery." The nephrologist cleared her throat. "This is not a decision we debate in hallways," she said firmly. "Mia's choice is made. We will move forward with treatment plans that do not involve her. If anyone pressures her here, I'll report it to the ethics committee immediately." For the first time in my life, someone in authority was standing between me and my family, on my side. The powerless feeling I'd carried since childhood began to loosen its grip. I looked at my parents, at my brother, at the tangle of wires and machines around him. "I'm sorry he's sick," I said. "I wouldn't wish this on anyone. But my body is not your solution anymore." Then I turned and walked out. They called my name. I kept walking. Every step down that hallway felt like I was relearning how to exist without a leash. If you've ever finally said no to people who believed your yes was guaranteed, you know exactly how terrifying and liberating that walk feels. Revenge doesn't always look like smashing windows or screaming in public. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like living well while the people who used you finally face life without your body as their safety net. In the months that followed, everything changed. Ethan's condition stabilized barely. He went back on dialysis while waiting for another transplant, this time from a deceased donor. No shortcuts, no built-in sister solution. He tried to call me a few times. I let them go to voicemail. In one, he cried. "I'm scared," he said. "They say I might not get a kidney in time. I know I messed up, okay, but you're my sister. Isn't that supposed to mean something?" I listened once. Then I deleted it. Because here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Being related to someone doesn't give them ownership over your body. My parents didn't handle it well. Their sob story made the rounds with relatives. "Mia abandoned her brother," they said. "After all we sacrificed." But this time, people didn't rally around them like before. Some had seen Ethan's party videos. Some had heard how he talked about me. Some had even heard snippets from nurses about my family donor resource tag. The narrative started to shift, from selfish sister to daughter who finally had enough. I moved out of their house 2 months after that hospital scene. Opened a small studio apartment with creaky floors and 2 bright streetlights outside, but it was mine. I picked up more hours at work once my energy returned. I joined an online support group for living donors, then a local one. I told my story once, then again, until the words stopped tasting like blood. Other people had been used as backup plans too. Spouses, siblings, children. We started showing up for each other in ways our families never did. With Rachel's help, I began speaking at small hospital seminars about informed consent, donor autonomy, emotional coercion. The first time I stood at a lectern and said, "I donated a kidney to my brother, and it almost cost me more than an organ," the room went silent. And then people leaned in. Because the world loves stories about selfless donors. It needs stories about boundaries just as much. One day, almost a year after the surgery, I got a call from Dr. Patel. "I wanted you to know," he said, "our transplant department has changed its policies because of your case. No more family donor resource labels. Every living donor gets an independent advocate now. Mandatory." I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. "That's good," I said. "No one else should have to find out the way I did." As for my family, we became something like distant relatives. They sent a couple of guilt-laced holiday messages. "We miss you. Your brother asks about you. Don't you think it's time to come back?" I didn't answer. Not because I was angry, because I was done. The last time Mom called, her voice was small, not sharp, not demanding. "Mia," she said, "I don't understand how you can live with yourself." I looked around my apartment, plants thriving on the windowsill, laptop open to a new advocacy project, a cup of tea cooling beside a stack of notes. "I live with myself just fine," I said. "You chose yourself over your brother," she whispered. "I chose myself after giving him a part of me he threw away," I replied. "I chose to stop being your spare." She didn't answer. I could hear her breathing, then a choked sound, then the click of the call ending. I set my phone down gently. Not shaking, not crying, just steady. That night, I sat by the window and traced the scar on my side one more time. For a long time, I'd seen it as proof that my family owned me. Now, it looked different. Like a line drawn in permanent ink between who I used to be and who I'd become. If you've ever been treated like you were made to sacrifice, listen carefully. You are not a spare part. You are not inventory. You are not a resource to be scheduled. You are a whole life. Mine didn't start the day I donated my kidney. It started the day I refused to give them anything else. That was my revenge, not their suffering, not their guilt, my freedom, and honestly, it was worth more than any apology they could ever choke out.